Moreover, I saw under the sun, in the place of judgment, wickedness was there, and in the place of righteousness, iniquity was there. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is time for every purpose and for every work. I said in my heart, concerning the condition of the sons of men, God tests them, that they may see that themselves are like animals. For what happens to the sons of men also happens to animals. One thing befalls them. As one dies, so dies the other. Surely they all have one breath. Man has no advantage over animals, and all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and all return to dust. Who knows the spirit of the sons of men, which goes upward, and the spirit of the animal, which goes down to the earth? So I perceive that nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his heritage. For who can bring to see what will happen after him? Chapter 4. Then I returned and considered all the oppression that is done to the son. And look, the tears of the oppressed, but they have no comforter. On the side of their oppressors there is power, but they have no comforter. Therefore I praise the dead who are already dead, more than the living who are still alive. Yet better than both is he who has never existed, who has not seen the evil work that is done under the sun. Then I saw that all toil and ever skillful work a man is envied by his neighbor. This also is vanity and grasping for the wind. The fool folds his hands and consumes his own flesh. Better a handful with quietness than both hands full together with toil and grasping for the wind. Five. If you see the oppressor of the poor and the violent perversion of justice and righteousness in a province, do not marvel at the matter, for high official watches over high official, and higher officials are over them. Moreover, the profit of the land is for all, even the king is served from the field. He who loves silver will not be satisfied with silver, nor he who loves abundance with increase. This also is vanity. When goods increase, they increase who eats them. So what profit have the owners except to see them with their eyes? The sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eats little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not permit him to sleep. There is severe evil which I have seen under the sun, riches kept for their owner to his hurt, but those riches perish through misfortune. When he begots a son, there is nothing in his hand. He came from his mother's womb, naked shall he return to go as he came, and he shall take nothing from his labor which he may carry away in his hand. And this also is severe evil. Just exactly as he came, so shall he go. And what profit has he who has labored for the wind? All his days he also eats in darkness, and he has much sorrow and sickness and anger. 7. A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. Better to go to the house of mourning than go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will take it to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by a sad countenance the heart is made better. The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of the fool is in the house of mirth. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. For like the cackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. This also is vanity. Surely oppression destroys a wise man's reason, and a bribe debases the heart. The end of a thing is better than its beginning. The patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Do not hasten in your spirit to be angry, for anger rests in the bosom of fools. Do not say, why were the former days better than these? For you do not inquire wisely concerning this. Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and profitable to those who see the sun. For wisdom is a defense as money is a defense. But the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to those who have it. Consider the work of God, for who can make straight what he has made crooked? In the days of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider, surely God has appointed the one as well as the other, so that man can find out nothing that will come after him. All this I have proved by wisdom. I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. As for that which is far off and exceedingly deep, who can find it out? I applied my heart to know, to search and seek out wisdom in the reason of things, to know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness and madness. 9. For I considered all this in my heart, so that I could declare it all. The righteous and the wise, and their works are in the hand of God. People know neither love nor hatred by anything they see before them. All things come alike to all. One event happens to the righteous and the wicked, to the good, the clean, and the unclean, to him who sacrifices and him who does not sacrifice. As is the good, so is the sinner. He who takes an oath, as he who fears an oath. This is an evil that is done under the sun, that one thing happens to all. Truly the hearts of the Son of Men are full of evil. Madness is in the hearts where they live, and after they go to the dead. But for him who is joined to the living there is hope, for a living dog is better than a dead lion. For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing, and they have no reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. Also their love, their hatred, and their envy have now perished. Never more will they have a share in anything done under the sun. Go, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has already accepted your works. Let your garment always be white, and let your head lack no oil. Live joyfully with the wife whom you love in all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun, all your days of vanity, for that is your portion in life, and in the labor which you perform under the sun. Whatever your hands finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor the bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happen to them all. For a man does not know his time, like a fish taken in a cruel net, like birds caught in a snare. So the sons of men are ensnared in an evil time, when it falls suddenly upon them. This wisdom I have seen under the sun, and it seemed great to me. There was a little city with few men in it, and a great king came against it, besieged it, and built great snares around it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no one remembers that same poor man. Then I said, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard. Words of the wise, spoken quietly, should be heard, rather than the shout of a ruler or fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of wars, but one fool destroys much good. 12. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, before the difficult days come, and the years draw near when you say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun and the light, the moon and the stars are not darkened, and the clouds do not return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house tremble, and the strong men bow down, when the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look through the windows grow dim, when the doors are shut in the street, and the sound of grinding is low, when one rises up at the sound of a bird, and all the daughters of music are brought low. They are afraid of height, and of the terrors in the ways. When the almond tree blossoms, the grasshopper is a burden, and desire fails. For a man goes to his eternal home, and the mourners go about the streets. Remember your Creator before the silver cord is removed, or the golden bowl is broken, or the pitcher shattered at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well. Then the dust will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. All is vanity. There is nothing new under the sun describes a lot of how 2021 and 2021 have felt to me. We kept doing the same thing over and over with very little change. Personally, Ecclesiastes is my favorite book of the Hebrew Bible. I've read it multiple times throughout my life and multiple times in the past 2 years. I think it's an interesting book, and I think the questions in it are fascinating. Now, Ecclesiastes is the traditional Christian name, but the Hebrew name for the book is Qohelet. We're not sure what Qohelet means. It possibly means assemble. The et could either mean that it's the feminine form, or it could possibly indicate a vocation. So we don't know if Qohelet's a name, a title, but he, she, them are the author. The traditional author of Qohelet is considered to be Solomon because of the first line, the words of Qohelet, son of David, king in Jerusalem. That would imply that the author was David's son Solomon, and that was written around 900 BCE. However, most scholars think that it is written later. C.L. Sau, for example, argues it is written a few decades before 333 BCE, since there are Persian loanwords in the text, but no Greek loanwords. Basically, Qohelet was probably written in Judea because Qohelet was probably written in Judea after it became part of the Persian Empire in around 500 BC, but before Judea was conquered by Alexander the Great in 333 BCE. It's Qohelet, along with the other books of the 5 scrolls, such as Song of Songs and Ruth. There are some of the newer books in the Hebrew Bible. Qohelet starts and ends with the word vanity of vanities in the King, as is translated in the King James Version and in the New King James Version I read. Now, vanity in that is literally a translation of havel havelim. The word havel is literally breath or vapor, and havel havelim is an extreme case of that. Robert Alter translates that verse as, merest breath, said Qohelet, merest breath. All is mere breath. Qohelet continues to play with this metaphor of air more when Qohelet talks of grasping, or hurting the wind. Qohelet's metaphors and discussions lead to many questions. I think it's interesting that Qohelet questions whether wisdom has any advantage over foolishness, such as in verses such as, he who adds wisdom add pain, or the race is not always to the swift, nor the bread to wise, or the story about the poor wise man who saves the city but is utterly forgotten. That's an unusual perspective. I will point out that it is very much an open question whether our big brains will destroy ourselves or save ourselves. Qohelet asks another question, which I think is Qohelet's most important question. Where is the meaning in life? It all seems to be vanity. It all seems to be mere breath. You can spend your whole life looking for the meaning in the universe, and I think that the result will be you will never find anywhere that the definitive answer. This is the definitive answer to the purpose of everything. I'm not sure what a full and definitive answer would be. I'm not sure it's possible, but I think the question is important, and seeking the answer is important. The traditional Judeo-Christian answer is right in Ecclesiastes, inserted at the end, probably by a later writer. Furthermore, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is weariness of the flesh. This is the end of the matter. All has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every work into judgment and every hidden thing, whether it is good or whether it is evil. So the Judeo-Christian answer is God. Look outside of yourself and look to God to find your meaning. As the book Micah says, he has shown you, a man, what is good. What does Yahweh require of you but to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God, wrote Micah. I'd warn those who think that saying the word God is a definitive answer, that there is an entire Talmud worth of discussion on how to keep God's commandments, and so this is by no means an easy rule to apply. Buddhism emphasizes that we need to look outside our current individual life. Thich Nhat Hanh states, "We are in the habit of identifying ourselves with our bodies. The idea that this is our body is deeply entrenched in us. But we are not just this body. We are much more than that. The idea that this body is me and I am this body is an idea we must get rid of. If we do not, we will suffer a great deal. We are life, and life is far vaster than this body, this concept, and this mind. Wrote Thich Nhat Hanh, an older verse from the way the Bodhisattva has, whatever happiness there is in the world, all comes from desiring others to be happy, and whatever suffering there is in this world, all comes from desiring oneself to be happy. So the Buddhist answer was to look outside of the body and to help others, and the Christian was to look outside yourself to God. I agree with both Christianity and Buddhism that we do need to find meaning outside of our own individual life. Atheist Greta Christina has her own answer. In a world without gods, who cares about us? We do. We care about ourselves, we care about each other, the other flawed, confused, messy animals living on the same mortal scale. There's no immense, eternal, perfect being watching our every move, elated at our triumphs, and devastated by our failures. We matter because we matter to each other in our own short time span, on our own small scale. We make each other important. Being an atheist doesn't mean life isn't important. It means we make our own importance. The human scale is where we live. It's what we have, and if we decide that's the most important scale, there's nobody out there to tell us otherwise. Wrote Greta Christina. I think we can find meaning in life, but I think Qohelet's writings are useful to keep us from being overconfident in this. Our life may be mere breath, but we reconnect ourselves to something more. I'm going to finish the sermon by reading a slightly different translation of Qohelet by Robert Alter. Send out your breath upon the waters, for in the long course of time you will find it. Give a share to 7 and even to 8, for you know not what evil will be on earth. If the cloud fills, they will empty out rain on the earth, and if a tree falls in the south or the north, the place where the tree falls, there it will be. He who watches the wind will not plant, and who gazes on clouds will not harvest. As you know not the part of the life breath into the limbs within the full womb, so you know not the deeds of God, who does everything. In the morning plant your seed, and at the evening let your hand not rest. For you know not which will be fit, this one or that, or whether both will be equally good. And light is sweet, and it is good for the eyes to see the sun. Should man live many years, let him rejoice in all of them, and let him recall the days of darkness, for they will be many. Whatever comes is mere breath. Rejoice, young man, in your youth, and let your heart be merry in the days of your prime, and go about in the ways of your heart and what your eyes see. But know that for all these God will bring you to judgment, and remove worry from your heart, and take evil away from your flesh, for youth and the time of vigor are mere breath. And recall your Creator in the days of your prime, until the days of evil come, and the years arrive, when you will say, I have no delight in them. For until the sun goes dark, and the light and the moon and the stars and the clouds come back after the rain, on the day the guards of the house will quake, and the stalwart men be twisted, and the maids who grind grow idle, for they are now few, and those who look from the casements go dark, and the double doors close in the market, and the sound of the mill sinks down, and the sound of the bird arises. And all the songstresses are bowed. Of the very height they are afraid, and terror is in the road. And the almond blossoms, and the locust tree is laden, and the caper fruit falls apart. For man is going to his everlasting house, and the mourners turn round in the market, until the silver cord is snapped, and the golden bowl is smashed, and the pitcher is broken against the well, and the jug smashed at the pit. And dust returns to the earth as it was, and the life breath returns to God who gave it. Merest breath, said Qohelet, all is mere breath. And now for our closing hymn. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit.
what to give you, what to call you, oh my God. Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, take our hearts, take our breath, and let our voices sing our parts. Take our hands and let us work to shape our art.
I will now extinguish our chalice with the following words. If you wish, join me in reciting the reading from Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Before we play our postlude at the end of the service, I invite you to participate in the virtual coffee hour, which will begin after the postlude. The link to this was sent out in the link to today's service. Our closing words are by Mary Oliver. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes to let it go, to let it go.
Amen.